In the vast expanse of the Milky Way galaxy, humans were not seen as the brave explorers they thought themselves to be. No, to the various alien species that populated the stars, humans were known as the cowards of the cosmos. It all started when humanity first ventured beyond their solar system. Their ships, small and fragile compared to the massive vessels of other races, seemed to scurry from star to star like frightened mice. The aliens watched with a mix of amusement and pity as humans jumped at every new discovery, treating each unknown as a potential threat. On the planet Xerxes IV, a hub of intergalactic commerce and diplomacy, alien diplomats often gathered to discuss the affairs of the galaxy. In one of the grand meeting halls, representatives from various species sat around a holographic display of the Milky Way. "Look at them," sneered Ambassador Zorg of the warrior Krull race, his scaly skin rippling with disdain. He pointed a clawed finger at a small cluster of stars. "The humans have expanded to merely 50 systems in the past century." Pathetic. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. The Krell, known for their bravery in battle and expansionist policies, saw the slow, cautious spread of humanity as a sign of weakness. "They're not all bad," chirped Pip, a small bird-like creature from the Avian Confederation. "They're quite clever with their technology." "Clever, yes," rumbled Gruk, a rock-like being from a high-gravity world. "But what use is cleverness without the courage to use it? They cower on their colony worlds, building defenses instead of fleets." The display zoomed in on one particular star system, showing a small blue-green planet surrounded by an intricate network of satellites and space stations. "Ah, New Eden," said Ambassador Xylana of the psychic Illithid race. Her tentacles waved gently as she spoke. "The pride of human colonization, and yet they've turned it into a fortress. They live in constant fear of the unknown." On New Eden, oblivious to the galactic ridicule, the human colonists went about their daily lives. The planet was a marvel of human engineering and adaptation. Vast, gleaming cities stretched across the landscape, connected by high-speed magnetic trains. Above, a web of defensive satellites kept watchful eyes on the surrounding space. In one of these cities, a young woman named Sarah Chen walked briskly through the crowded streets. She was late for her shift at the Planetary Defense Center. As she hurried along, she passed by massive view screens, displaying news from across human space. Another pirate attack repelled in the Orion sector, blared one headline. "Colony ship turns back after encountering unknown anomaly," declared another. Sarah sighed as she entered the imposing building of the Defense Center. Inside, rows of technicians sat before glowing screens, monitoring every aspect of the planet's defenses. At the center of the room stood a massive holographic display of the surrounding star systems. "You're late, Chen," barked her supervisor, Captain Rodriguez. "Sorry, sir," Sarah mumbled, quickly taking her seat. She began running diagnostics on the satellite network, her fingers flying over the holographic interface. As she worked, Sarah couldn't help but overhear a conversation between two senior officers nearby. "Did you hear? The Galactic Council denied our request for a defensive pact again," one of them said, his voice low and worried. "No surprise there," replied the other. "They still see us as cowards, unworthy of their protection." Sarah felt a pang of frustration. She knew humanity was capable of so much more. Why couldn't the rest of the galaxy see it? Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. The main display flashed red, showing a massive energy signature approaching the system. "Unknown vessel entering the system," shouted one of the technicians. It's huge." Captain Rodriguez's face paled. "Is it the Krell? The Vorax? Quick, send out the alert to all colonies." As the center erupted into controlled chaos, Sarah felt a strange calm settle over her. She looked at the approaching vessel and realized that this might be humanity's chance to prove itself. Little did Sarah know, this was just the beginning. The cowardly humans were about to embark on a journey that would change their reputation forever. The galaxy was in for a surprise, as those they mocked as fearful were about to show what they were truly made of. The stage was set, the challenge approached, and humanity, long dismissed as the cowards of the cosmos, stood on the brink of becoming the most unlikely heroes the galaxy had ever seen. The massive unknown ship loomed closer to New Eden, its size dwarfing anything in the human defense fleet. In the Planetary Defense Center, screens flashed with urgent messages from panicked colonists and desperate pleas for help from nearby human outposts. Captain Rodriguez barked orders, his face glistening with sweat. "Chen, get me a reading on that ship's weapons systems." Sarah's fingers danced across her console. "Sir, I can't get a clear reading. Their technology is like nothing we've ever seen before." As New Eden braced for what seemed like an inevitable attack, news of the approaching threat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On Xerxes IV, the alien diplomats gathered once again, this time with an air of grim anticipation. "Well," growled Zorg, the Krell ambassador, "it seems the humans will finally face a real challenge. I give them a day before they surrender." Pip, the small avian, ruffled his feathers nervously. "Shouldn't we help them? They're part of the galactic community, after all." Grok, the rock-like being, rumbled with laughter. "Help them? Why waste our resources on those who won't even fight for themselves?" As the aliens debated, the situation on New Eden grew more tense. The unknown ship had entered orbit, its massive hull blocking out the stars. Then, unexpectedly, a message crackled through every communication device on the planet. "People of Earth and its colonies," boomed a deep, otherworldly voice. "We are the Harbingers. Your planet has been chosen. Prepare for assimilation." A chill ran down Sarah's spine as she heard the message. She looked around the defense center, expecting to see panic. Instead, she saw determination in the eyes of her colleagues. Captain Rodriguez stood tall, his voice steady as he addressed the room. "We've trained for this, people. We may be seen as cowards, but today we show the galaxy what humans are made of. To your stations." Across New Eden, a remarkable thing happened. Instead of fleeing, citizens began to organize. In the capital city, Mayor Lai Wei turned community centers into emergency bunkers. Farmers in the countryside loaded their harvesting machines with makeshift weapons. Dr. Emily Sato, a brilliant but timid scientist, emerged from her lab with a hastily assembled energy disruptor. I think this might help," she said, her voice shaking but her eyes determined. In orbit, the small human defense fleet took up position around the planet. Captain Jane Foster of the HMS Defiant opened a channel to all ships. "We are outnumbered and outgunned," she said, her voice calm. "But Earth faced worse odds before. We are the descendants of those who survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars. We will not go quietly into the night." A cheer went up across the fleet. On the planet below, civilians and military alike prepared for the fight of their lives. Back in the defense center, Sarah had an idea. "Captain," she called out, "what if we use our satellite network as a giant transmitter? We could disrupt their communications." Rodriguez's eyes lit up. "Do it, Chen." As the Harbingers began their descent, humanity's response surprised everyone, including themselves. The defense fleet engaged in clever hit-and-run tactics, using the planet's moon for cover. On the surface, civilians turned their tools into traps, their homes into fortresses. Dr. Seto's energy disruptor proved effective against the Harbingers' personal shields, giving the ground forces a fighting chance. Mayor Lai's bunkers saved thousands of lives as the invaders bombarded the cities. And in orbit, Sarah's improvised satellite weapon crackled to life, sending the Harbinger fleet into disarray. The battle raged for days. Human casualties were high, but they fought with a ferocity that shocked the invaders. Stories of individual bravery spread like wildfire, inspiring others to greatness. On Xerxes IV, the alien diplomats watched in stunned silence as reports came in. The humans, it seemed, were not surrendering. They were fighting back, and in some cases, winning. "Impossible. muttered Zorg, his earlier sneer replaced by grudging respect. Pip bounced excitedly. I told you they had potential. We should send help. Even the stoic Grok nodded slowly. Perhaps we judged them too hastily. As the sixth day of battle dawned on New Eden, the outcome was still uncertain. But one thing was clear. The humans, long dismissed as cowards, were showing the galaxy a side of themselves no one had expected. The Harbingers, expecting an easy victory, found themselves in a grueling war of attrition against an enemy that simply refused to give up. And across the stars, other races began to look at humanity in a new light. The cowards, it seemed, had found their courage. But would it be enough to save them from the greatest threat the galaxy had ever seen? As the battle for New Eden entered its second week, the tide began to turn. The Harbingers, caught off guard by humanity's fierce resistance, found themselves in an unfamiliar position, on the defensive. In the skies above New Eden, Captain Jane Foster of the HMS Defiant led a daring assault on the Harbinger mothership. Her small fleet darted between the massive alien vessels, their weapons blazing. Target their main power conduits, Foster shouted over the comms. Remember, we're not just fighting for New Eden. We're fighting for every human world out there. On the planet's surface, the situation was equally intense. Dr. Emily Sato had set up a makeshift lab in the ruins of the capital city. Her energy disruptors, now mass-produced by repurposed factories, were turning the tide in street-to-street fighting. I never thought I'd say this, Sato muttered as she calibrated another disruptor, but I'm glad I watched all those old war movies. Who knew they'd come in handy? Meanwhile, in the Planetary Defense Center, Sarah Chen had become the unexpected linchpin of the entire operation. Her satellite network, initially designed for communication and early warning, had been transformed into a powerful weapon against the Harbinger fleet. Captain Rodriguez, Sarah called out, her eyes never leaving her screens. I've found a pattern in their ship movements. If we time our attacks right, we can herd them into a trap. Rodriguez nodded grimly. Do it, Chen. And may whatever gods are out there help us all. As the battle raged on New Eden, news of humanity's stand spread across the galaxy. On countless alien worlds, beings gathered around view screens, watching in awe as the once derided humans fought with unexpected ferocity and cunning. On Cirx's IV, the mood in the diplomatic chambers had shifted dramatically. Gone were the sneers and dismissive comments. Now the alien representatives watched the battle unfold with a mixture of respect and concern. Ambassador Zorg of the Krell paced nervously. We cannot stand idly by any longer. If the humans fall, who will be next? Pip, the avian representative, nodded vigorously. I agree. We must help them. They've proven themselves worthy allies. Even the usually stoic Grok seemed moved. Perhaps we judged them too harshly. Their courage in the face of overwhelming odds is admirable. As the alien races debated, a new threat emerged on New Eden. The Harbingers, realizing they were losing the battle in space and on the ground, unleashed their ultimate weapon, a massive terraforming device designed to remake the planet in their image. As the device activated, storms of unimaginable power began to ravage New Eden. Earthquakes shook the ground, and toxic gases filled the air. In the defense center, alarms blared as sensors overloaded. We can't stop it. One technician cried out in despair. But Sarah Chen refused to give up. Her mind raced, connecting dots that others missed. Wait, she said, her voice rising with excitement. What if we use their own weapon against them? She turned to Captain Rodriguez, her eyes shining with determination. Sir, if we can reverse the polarity of our satellite network and channel it through the Harbinger's device, we might be able to turn it against their own ships. Rodriguez stared at her for a moment, then broke into a grim smile. It's crazy, Chen. But crazy is all we've got left. Do it. As Sarah worked feverishly to reconfigure the satellite network, the battle reached its climax. On the ground, Dr. Sato led a team of scientists and engineers in a desperate attempt to shield the population from the terraforming effects. In orbit, Captain Foster's fleet engaged in a final, all-or-nothing assault on the Harbinger mothership. And across the galaxy, the alien races of Xerxes IV came to a decision. In a historic moment, they voted unanimously to send aid to the humans of New Eden. As the first reinforcements began to arrive through jump points, they were greeted by an astonishing sight. The Harbinger fleet was in disarray, their ships being torn apart by the very forces they had unleashed upon the planet. Sarah's desperate gambit had worked. The terraforming energy, reflected back upon the Harbinger ships, was ripping them apart from the inside out. On New Eden's surface, battered but unbowed, humans emerged from their shelters to see the Harbinger ships falling from the sky like meteor showers. In the defense center, Sarah collapsed into her chair, exhausted but triumphant. Captain Rodriguez placed a hand on her shoulder. "You did it, Chen. You saved us all." As the realization of victory spread across New Eden, cheers erupted from every corner of the planet. The humans, once dismissed as cowards, had stood their ground against impossible odds, and won. But this was only the beginning. As alien reinforcements arrived, and the full scale of humanity's achievement became clear, the galaxy would never be the same again. The age of human timidity was over. A new era had begun. In the days following the Battle of New Eden, the galaxy buzzed with excitement. The story of humanity's stand against the Harbingers spread like wildfire across the stars. Humans, once mocked as cowards, were now hailed as heroes. On New Eden, the cleanup began. The planet's surface was scared by the battle, but its people were unbowed. In the capital city, now a mix of rubble and hastily constructed shelters, Sarah Chen walked through the streets, barely recognizing the world she had helped save. "Sarah Chen," a voice called out. She turned to see a group of children running towards her, eyes wide with admiration. "Is it true you turned the bad alien's weapon against them?" Sarah blushed, still uncomfortable with her newfound fame. "It was a team effort," she said softly. "Everyone played their part." Meanwhile, in orbit, Captain Jane Foster of the HMS Defiant coordinated with the alien reinforcements. Her ship, battered but still functional, floated amidst a graveyard of Harbinger vessels. "I never thought I'd see the day," she muttered, watching as Krell battleships and avian scouts worked alongside human vessels. "We've gone from being the laughingstock of the galaxy to its saviors." On the planet's surface, Dr. Emily Sato had turned her makeshift lab into a center for technological exchange. Alien scientists crowded around her, eager to learn about the energy disruptors that had proved so effective against the Harbingers. "It's quite simple, really," Sato explained, her earlier timidity replaced by confident excitement. "We just had to think outside the box, or outside the galaxy, in this case. As New Eden rebuilt, the effects of the battle rippled across human space. On Earth, parades and celebrations erupted in every major city. The old divisions between nations seemed to melt away in the face of humanity's shared triumph. In the UN headquarters in New York, now expanded to include representatives from every human colony, a historic session was underway. The topic: humanity's new role in the galaxy. "We have proven ourselves," declared the Secretary General, her voice firm. "It's time we took our place among the stars, not as timid explorers, but as equal partners." The assembly erupted in cheers. For the first time in its history, humanity was truly united, driven by a common purpose and pride. Back on Xerxes IV, the alien diplomats were still coming to terms with the dramatic shift in galactic politics. Ambassador Zorg of the Krell, once so dismissive of humans, now spoke of them with grudging respect. "They may lack our physical strength," he growled to the assembly, "but their spirit is indomitable." Pip, the avian representative, was more enthusiastic. "I propose we invite humans to join the Galactic Council," he chirped. "Their unique perspective could be invaluable." Even the stoic Grok nodded in agreement. Their victory over the Harbingers has shown us that there is strength in diversity. Perhaps it is time we learned from them, as much as they have learned from us. As the galaxy adjusted to this new reality, a message arrived from deep space. It was picked up first by Sarah Chen's enhanced satellite network on New Eden, then quickly spread to every corner of known space. The message was simple, but chilling. Humans of Earth and its colonies, you have defeated our first wave. Know that the Harbingers are legion. We will return. In the Planetary Defense Center on New Eden, now a hub of interspecies cooperation, Sarah shared the message with Captain Rodriguez and representatives from a dozen alien races. A tense silence fell over the room. Then, to everyone's surprise, Rodriguez began to laugh. "Let them come," he said, his eyes glinting with determination. "This time, we'll be ready, and we won't be standing alone." The alien representatives nodded in agreement. The avian diplomat spread his wings in a gesture of solidarity. The Krell ambassador pounded his chest and roared. Even the rocky face of the Grok seemed to soften into something like a smile. As Sarah looked around the room, she felt a swell of pride. Humanity had not only survived its trial by fire, but had emerged stronger, more united, and with powerful new allies. The Harbingers thought they had faced humanity at its weakest. Next time, they would face humanity at its best, standing shoulder to shoulder with the very aliens who had once dismissed them as cowards. As the meeting adjourned and plans were made, one thing became clear. The age of human timidity was over. A new era of courage, innovation, and interstellar cooperation had begun, and at its heart stood the unlikeliest of heroes, the once cowardly humans who had shown the galaxy what true bravery looked like. 5 years had passed since the Battle of New Eden. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have imagined. Humans, once ridiculed as cowards, now stood as respected members of the galactic community. On the newly established Galactic Defense Station, a massive structure floating in neutral space, Sarah Chen stared out at the stars. Now Admiral Chen, she led the combined fleet tasked with preparing for the Harbinger's return. "Admiral," a voice called. Sarah turned to see Captain Rodriguez, now her second in command. "The Krell battle group has arrived for the war games." Sarah nodded, a small smile on her face. Who would have thought we'd be running combat drills with the Krell one day? As they walked to the command center, aliens of various species nodded respectfully. The station was a melting pot of galactic cultures, all united against a common threat. In the massive holographic war room, representatives from a dozen species gathered around a swirling map of the galaxy. Ambassador Zorg of the Krell, now a close ally, growled a greeting. "Let us hope your human ingenuity hasn't gone soft in peacetime," he rumbled good-naturedly. Sarah grinned. "Don't worry, Ambassador. We've got a few tricks up our sleeves." As the war games began, fleets of ships from various races engaged in complex maneuvers. Human vessels, once considered primitive, now incorporated technology from across the galaxy. They darted between the larger ships of their allies, showcasing the blend of human creativity and alien innovation. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Emily Seto presented her latest invention to the Galactic Science Council. The room was filled with the galaxy's brightest minds, all eager to see what the humans had come up with next. "Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all designations," Seto began, her confidence a far cry from her former timid self. "I present to you the Quantum Entanglement Communication Array. With this, we can communicate instantly across the galaxy, no matter the distance." The room erupted in excited chatter. An avian scientist fluttered his wings in excitement. "This could revolutionize our defense against the Harbingers." As Seto basked in the praise of her peers, a alert chimed on her communicator. Her face paled as she read the message. Back on the Galactic Defense Station, alarms blared. Sarah rushed to the command center, her heart pounding. On the main screen, a massive wormhole was opening at the edge of charted space. "It's them," Rodriguez said, his voice tight. The Harbingers. They're back. Sarah took a deep breath, steadying herself. This was the moment they had been preparing for. Send the alert to all allied worlds. It's time to put our plans into action. Across the galaxy, the call to arms went out. On countless worlds, beams of all species prepared for battle. The fear that had once gripped the galaxy at the mere mention of the Harbingers was replaced by grim determination. On New Eden, now a thriving hub of interstellar culture, Mayor Lai Wei addressed a crowd of humans and aliens alike. 5 years ago, we stood alone against the darkness. Today, we stand together, a united galaxy. In orbit above Earth, Captain Jane Foster, now Admiral of Earth's fleet, gave orders to her diverse crew. Humans worked alongside Krell warriors, avian navigators, and even a few rock-like Grok engineers. All ships, prepare for jump, Foster commanded. We meet the enemy on our terms this time. As the combined fleet of the galaxy assembled, Sarah couldn't help but marvel at how far they had come. Humans, once dismissed as cowards, now led the charge against the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known. Admiral Chen. Ambassador Zorg said, joining her at the viewport. Your people have come far. The Krell are proud to fight alongside you. Sarah nodded, touched by the gruff alien's words. Together, we are stronger than they could ever imagine. As the first reports of Harbinger ships came in, Sarah felt a familiar mix of fear and determination. But this time, it was different. This time, they were ready. All fleets, this is Admiral Chen. She broadcast across the galactic network. The Harbingers thought they broke us 5 years ago. Instead, they united us. Today, we show them the true strength of our galaxy. All ships, prepare for battle. As the combined fleet jumped towards the incoming Harbinger Armada, Sarah knew that win or lose, the galaxy would never be the same. The age of human cowardice was long gone. Now was the time for human courage to shine brighter than ever before. The greatest battle in galactic history was about to begin, and at its heart stood the once ridiculed humans, ready to prove once again that they were anything but cowards. The vastness of space erupted into chaos as the United Galactic Fleet engaged the Harbinger Armada. Thousands of ships, representing dozens of alien races, swarmed against the nightmarish biomechanical vessels of the invaders. At the heart of the battle, Admiral Sarah Chen's flagship, the HSS Defiant, led the charge. Her bridge was a hive of activity, with humans and aliens working side by side in perfect harmony. Krell Battle Group, reinforce our left flank. Sarah shouted, her eyes fixed on the holographic battle map. Avian squadrons, execute maneuver Epsilon. Beside her, Ambassador Zorg of the Krell watched in awe. Never in 1,000 years did I think I'd see a human commanding such a force, he growled admiringly. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Never in 1,000 years did we think we'd be here, old friend. The battle raged across multiple star systems. On the edges of the conflict, Dr. Emily Sato's quantum entanglement communication array proved its worth. Orders and information flowed instantly across light years, allowing the Allied fleet to coordinate with unprecedented efficiency. In the Orient sector, Admiral Jane Foster's Earth fleet found itself surrounded by Harbinger ships. All vessels, initiate Protocol Omega, Foster commanded. In a breathtaking display of coordination, the human ships suddenly split apart, revealing a hidden core of Grok vessels. The rock-like aliens, immune to the Harbinger's energy weapons, smashed through the enemy line with devastating effect. Back on the Galactic Defense Station, Captain Rodriguez coordinated the defense of key worlds. New Eden reports Harbinger dropships incoming, a young lieutenant reported. Rodriguez's face hardened. Patch me through to Mayor Lai Wei. On the surface of New Eden, Mayor Lai rallied the planet's defenders. Humans fought alongside Krell warriors and avian sharpshooters, holding the line against waves of Harbinger ground troops. Remember New Eden, Lai shouted, brandishing an energy disruptor of Dr. Sato's design. Remember what we achieved here 5 years ago. As the battle reached its peak, a new threat emerged. At the heart of the Harbinger fleet, a massive ship unlike any other appeared. Its surface writhed with organic tendrils, and it pulsed with an otherworldly energy. "By the stars," Zorg whispered, "it's their hive queen." Sarah's mind raced. This was their chance to end the war once and for all. But the Queen's ship was surrounded by the densest concentration of Harbinger forces they'd ever seen. "We need a plan," Sarah muttered. Then her eyes lit up. "And I think I have one. It's crazy, but it just might work." She turned to her crew. "I need volunteers for a dangerous mission. We're going to use the Harbinger's own tactics against them." To her surprise, every hand on the bridge went up, human and alien alike. With determined efficiency, Sarah outlined her plan. They would use Dr. Sato's quantum entanglement device to teleport a small team directly onto the Queen's ship. Their mission: to plant a modified version of the terraforming device that had nearly destroyed New Eden 5 years ago. "If we can activate it inside their ship," Sarah explained, "it should tear the Queen's vessel apart from the inside." The plan was risky, bordering on suicidal. But as Sarah looked around at the determined faces of her crew, she knew they would follow her into the jaws of death itself. As the assault team prepared, Sarah received transmissions from across the galaxy. Mayor Lai Wei, standing amidst the chaos of New Eden's defense. Dr. Sato, working feverishly to modify the terraforming device. Admiral Foster, her fleet bloodied but unbowed. "Whatever happens," Sarah addressed them all, "know that we have already achieved the impossible. We've united the galaxy. We've shown everyone, including ourselves, what humanity is truly capable of." With a final nod to Ambassador Zorg, Sarah joined the assault team. As they prepared to teleport into the heart of the enemy stronghold, she felt a strange calm settle over her. The moment of truth had arrived. In the next few minutes, the fate of the galaxy would be decided. And at the center of it all stood humanity. The former cowards of the cosmos, now the tip of the spear in the fight for galactic freedom. As the teleportation device hummed to life, Sarah took a deep breath. "For Earth, for New Eden, for every free world in the galaxy," she said, "let's finish this." In a flash of light, the team vanished, embarking on the most daring mission in the history of the galaxy. The final battle against the Harbingers had begun, with humanity leading the charge into legend. In a blinding flash of light, Admiral Sarah Chen and her team materialized inside the Harbinger Hive Queen ship. The air was thick and humid, filled with an alien stench that made their eyes water. "Stay alert," Sarah whispered, hefting the modified terraforming device. "We don't know what we'll encounter here." As they crept through pulsating organic corridors, the team marveled at the bizarre fusion of flesh and machine that made up the Harbinger vessel. Every step brought them deeper into the heart of the enemy. Meanwhile, outside the massive ship, the battle raged on. Admiral Jane Foster's fleet engaged in a desperate holding action, drawing fire away from Sarah's position. "Keep them busy," Foster commanded, her voice tight with determination. "Give the Admiral the time she needs." On New Eden, Mayor Lai Wei led the ground forces in a fierce counterattack against the Harbinger landing parties. Humans fought side by side with Krell warriors and avian sharpshooters, their former differences forgotten in the heat of battle. "For our homes," Lai shouted, rallying his troops. "For our future." Back on the Galactic Defense Station, Dr. Emily Seto worked feverishly to support the mission. Her fingers flew over holographic displays as she guided Sarah's team through the labyrinthine Harbinger ship. "You're approaching the central chamber," Sato's voice crackled over the comm. "The energy readings are off the charts. The Queen must be there." As Sarah's team reached the massive doors of the central chamber, they encountered their first real resistance. Harbinger drones, more machine than flesh, swarmed towards them. "Hold the line," Sarah shouted, firing her disruptor. Her team, a mix of humans and aliens, fought with desperate courage. In the chaos of the fight, a young avian named Pip was hit. As he fell, A hulking Krell warrior named Grok scooped him up, shielding the smaller alien with his own body. "No one left behind," Grok growled, echoing the human phrase he had learned. With a final push, they breached the central chamber. And there, suspended in a web of pulsing energy, was the Harbinger Queen. She was massive, a nightmarish fusion of flesh and technology, her many eyes fixed on Sarah, filled with alien malevolence. "So," the Queen's voice reverberated in their minds, "the cowards have found their courage." Sarah stood tall, unflinching. "We were never cowards," she declared. "We just needed a reason to fight, and you gave us one." As Sarah's team engaged the Queen's guards, she raced towards the central pillar, the terraforming device clutched tightly. Outside, the battle reached its crescendo. Foster's fleet was taking heavy losses, but they refused to yield. On New Eden, Li Wei's forces pushed the Harbingers back, reclaiming their world street by street, building by building. And on the Galactic Defense Station, Dr. Sato watched the energy reading spike. "It's now or never, Sarah," she shouted into the comm. In the Queen's chamber, Sarah fought her way to the central pillar. With a grunt of effort, she slammed the terraforming device into place. "This ends now," Sarah growled, activating the device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the ship began to shake. The Queen screamed, a sound of rage and disbelief that echoed across space. "All units, fall back," Sarah shouted into her comm. "It's done." As Sarah and her team raced for the extraction point, the Harbinger ship began to tear itself apart. The modified terraforming energy, designed to reshape planets, wreaked havoc on the ship's organic components. In a blinding flash, Sarah's team was teleported to safety, just as the Queen's ship exploded in a spectacular burst of energy. Across the battlefield, the Harbinger forces fell into disarray. Without the Queen's guidance, they became easy targets for the United Galactic Fleet. As the dust settled, a stunned silence fell across the galaxy. Then, slowly, cheers began to erupt. From New Eden to Earth, from the farthest human colony to the homeworlds of a dozen alien races, the cry went up, "Victory!" In the aftermath, as the galaxy celebrated, Sarah stood on the bridge of her ship, looking out at the stars. Ambassador Zorg approached, his usually gruff demeanor softened with respect. "You have done the impossible, Admiral Chen," he said. "You have united the galaxy. You have saved us all." Sarah smiled, thinking of all they had been through. From the first battle on New Eden to this final, decisive victory. "We did it together," she said. "All of us, human and alien alike." As news of the victory spread, the story of humanity's journey from ridicule to respect became legend. The tale of how the cowardly humans became the galaxy's greatest heroes would be told for generations to come. And as Sarah looked out at the vast expanse of space, she knew that this was not an end, but a beginning. A new era of peace, cooperation, and exploration stretched out before them, full of endless possibilities. The age of human courage had dawned, and the galaxy would never be the same again.